You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. She is passionate, direct, and sometimes a little sarcastic, but always gives you what you need to succeed in business. Now, here's your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 004, Accountability with It Snappy. If you are an entrepreneur who wants to take consistent, massive, focused action in your business and life, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm excited about today's episode because you're going to meet our special guest, It Snappy. In an era where overtime is expected and overwhelm is normal, productivity strategist It Snappy uses project management and continuous improvement methodology in coaching overwhelmed entrepreneurs to remove bottlenecks, save time, and increase profitability. He's obsessed about helping entrepreneurs uncover their game changer, the one activity that will deliver the greatest return on investment time, both at work and at home. Nick earned a master's in mechanical engineering from the Union College and MBA from the University of Florida. He obtained Lean Six Sigma, a project management professional certification, and worked 14 years in the nuclear and phosphate industries, where he led teams as a capital project manager responsible for multi-million-dollar projects. Nick leverages his leadership and technical background to provide a unique coaching experience for his clients. He is best known for his atypical engineer host of the Make It Snappy Productivity podcast. His faith fuels his love for people, culture, language learning, and his passion for working productively and living deliberately. He and his wife have 3 young children. When listening in on our conversation with Nick, you will discover what a solid process of accountability can do for your business, why you just need to get version 1.0 out there, how the lack of an idea validation negatively affects your productivity, the immeasurable value of an accountability partner. So let's dive right in and meet Nick. Hi, Nick. Welcome to Productivity Straight Talk. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Amber. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So just to update our listeners, I was on your podcast. Well, we just actually went live this week, the week that we are recording.
You did.
And you and I had such an amazing time. We totally got immersed and geeking out about productivity. And I'm like, we have to continue part 2 of this conversation on my podcast.
Totally. I had so much fun talking to you.
Yes, it was really, really amazing. And like you had said in your podcast, you and I are just really in sync on so many different levels about what we believe about productivity and how we help our clients. And that is always good to be able to jam out to somebody that's on the same wavelength, because there's not that many people that get super excited about productivity like we do.
There's not, but there should be more. And maybe we're birthing them by having these conversations, right?
Right. Exactly. So before we jump into today's topic about accountability and how that affects our productivity, I want our listeners to know a little bit about you and how and why and what is your story about becoming a productivity expert?
So I'm not naturally productive, not by any stretch of the imagination. I had to learn productivity. And I remember I kind of got into a situation where I was working for corporate, doing the whole 9 to 5. No, wait, it's not 9 to 5. It's like 7 to 7, that sort of thing. I was already commuting a really, really long time. We bought our house in 2006. So it's not like I had a lot of options. We were upside down and I just had to kind of grin and bear it. So I was already commuting like an hour and I got forced to go to another facility that was another half an hour, 40 minutes. Like my longest commute was 2 hours, 15, maybe 2 hours, 20 minutes. It was ridiculous.
Oh my goodness. And you've got a family at home you needed to be with.
Absolutely, I did. And I remember being resentful and like a little bit bitter about the whole move. I didn't really believe in why I was moving, where I was moving, all this kind of stuff. So I had my own internal process to sort out. But the one commitment that I made to myself and my family is that I'm not going to spend one extra second at this new facility. And my day is not going to be 1 second longer than it was at the other place. So I had to learn productivity. I had to force myself to figure out the systems and processes that could get me in, get me out and back home. So I became a machine as an engineer. And it really kind of helped me get the productivity juices flowing. And I took that and I started learning not only about efficiency, then I started learning about getting the right things done. And I transferred that through my career in corporate. And then I decided to make my leap and take all that process improvement, Knowledge I learned now. I'm an engineer too. So I've been managing capital projects. So I know how to take this idea from inception all the way through execution. And then all of a sudden, like with capital projects, I could build this massive structure and I'd see it. It was there. I love that idea of working through a process. And then I got into continuous improvement and how do you make those processes better? So all these like geeky engineering things that I did in my career that were very productive and learning how to make my personal system more effective, I transferred those skills when I decided to take a leap and start my company to entrepreneurship.
That is awesome. You know what I heard in that, Nick, was that you had a driving big why. And I've actually been talking to my listeners about this. The why was you wanted to be home with your family. That the why was I need to be so productive and so effective and efficient at work that you could still excel at work, but yet be able to be present and home and have that time with your family.
Absolutely. You've always got to go to your why.
That's the huge driver because, while we were joking that you and I get excited about productivity, honestly, I think the reason we get excited, or at least I'll speak for myself, is that I see it as a means to accomplishing something. It's not that the idea of productivity is so exciting. It's that it allows me to reach my goals quicker, more directly, and that is the why. So it's not really that I want to be productive is the why. It's that I'm trying to reach something bigger with my goals. And so you definitely had goals to do that. And then the side thing was now you've been able to build an entire business around helping others be productive.
It's not about productivity. Yeah, it's fine and it's fun to like just crush it and get stuff done efficiently. But at the end of the day, it's the outcome of all that productivity. Like it's how do you want to spend your time? That's the thing that we really need to think about.
I've heard you say often that you believe in productivity, but only when it's rooted in purpose. Can you explain that to us a little bit?
So like with productivity, I've always described it as it comes along, this concept of productivity comes along with a lot of baggage because everybody defines it differently. And you get into the tool geeks, and you and I talked about tools because on my show, I brought you on to talk about tools and anti-tools because they got to give people what they want. But people really geek out about that. They geek out about tools. They geek out about getting more done in your day. But what's not really talked about a lot in this space is, well, I shouldn't say, I'm not going to make a generalization. I mean, we're getting to the point, but all these tools and doing things efficiently and getting more done, it all comes back to, are you getting the right things done? So the right things for me is rooted into how do you want to spend your time? Like, what's the purpose of all this, right? What's the purpose of even entrepreneurship? Like, could you envision yourself spending your time a certain way and not be an entrepreneur? There's all these like sexy ideas out there where we've got to do things quicker and faster and get more done. The nonstop hustle, and we got to become an entrepreneur because nobody likes to work for the man. And like all these just basic fundamental questions or ideas that people have. If you go back to like, why are we doing all this? Like, what's the point? Then you can use productivity to leverage that why. And that's your purpose for how you want to spend your time.
I think that's amazing. You had given me a shout out for my definition of productivity, which is investing your best time into your best activities. But I really love that it's productivity on purpose. And that's the name of your Facebook group as well. And so rooted in purpose. And it's so hard for so many people to really find out what their big why is or what their purpose is. And that in itself, I believe, is the foundational stepping block to productivity. Because if not, it's just a rat race and we're exhausted at the end of the day and we're working all these hours, and a lot of people have hustle in them. But if the hustle's not for a purpose, then where are we going? And we're really just burning ourselves out. So I love it.
I have thoughts on that because you mentioned it's hard to figure out your purpose and understand, and it's overwhelming. Totally agree. And it's like unreasonably overwhelming, right? So I don't really think of the purpose. I used to, like, what's my purpose in life? And you got to go out on a mountain and you got to meditate for 6 days and stuff until it finally comes and you get this enlightening feeling or whatever. It's not like that at all. It's just you can ask yourself some basic questions to really get directionally correct. And it starts with like, just how do I want to spend my time? Everybody can answer that question. And
absolutely,
it might not be your life purpose, but you know what lights you up. You know how you want to spend your time. You go that direction, and then eventually you'd be like, I really think that I'm on the right track. Like I'm closer to my purpose, why I feel like I'm on this earth, what I've been born to do, that kind of stuff. But don't pressure yourself to try to figure out the answer to that question. That's unproductive, Amber.
I agree. So before we get into our next segment, all about accountability, I wanted to ask you a few questions about, you're an entrepreneur and the listeners here are generally all entrepreneurs. And so who is your ideal client and how do you help them?
I love working with entrepreneurs and people in general that are overwhelmed and need to figure out how to get time back in their day. I love helping those people. The way that I help them, I've helped them in a bunch of different ways, but we talked about, I think earlier, you got to kind of listen to what your market's telling you. And the way that I help them is I feel like I have a very solid process of accountability. So people that say they want to do something, they have all the right intentions and they're committed, but they just can't figure out, there's like a missing link. Like they just can't execute. They can't get it done. And I'm all about action and tough love. So if you can't get it done and you're not taking action for whatever reason, then you come to me and I will give you productive ways to get that done, to take that action.
That's awesome. So we both have kids. I know on your podcast, you have your son, maybe sons make some guest appearances. And so you say that you serve especially parents because that is really a niche and where you've got that fine balance between life and work, right? Or family and work. And so I loved that you're doing overwhelmed entrepreneurs and especially those that are parents because you add a lot of life productivity tips as well.
That's right. Yeah, it's not all about work, is it?
No, it's
they go
not.
So hand in hand.
Who we are as people is who we show up in our businesses as entrepreneurs. And there is no black and white to that at all.
You're right. Yeah. And so like one of the big things nowadays with like Gary Vee and the nonstop hustle and everything is like this concept of work-life integration. I'm not sure if Gary says that or if I heard it somewhere else, but like I do believe that it needs to be work-life integration as in they need to support each other. But the thing that is being talked about the most now is like you're never turning off anymore, right? Like it's 9 to 5's out the window. You're always on. And that is so true if you let it be true. But I think when it comes to like your home life and your work life, they need to support each other. You've got to figure out and make those agreements in both those areas in your life so that you're not one-sided.
I totally agree. Like I actually have a tendency, if I don't keep myself in checks and balances, to be one extreme or the other. So I'll be like all fun, mom, like wanting to play and kind of play hooky, or I'm like all in. I'm in the middle of a huge project at work. And so I'm always consciously making a choice to try and keep what I believe balance is for me. So there is no balance like 50-50, but what just feels right for balance. And so I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and I'm a big one thing enthusiast. I can talk about the one thing probably my entire life, and it's about that unbalance. Like you described, you're never gonna have 50-50. All things aren't weighted equally, but there's one thing in those different aspects of your life, be it home, spiritual, work. There's one thing that's really going to move the needle forward. Like there's one thing that you could do on a day-by-day basis to grow a closer relationship with your kids. And it more than likely it's probably going to be like, put your phone down and go out there and play with them, like that kind of thing. So like focusing on those aspects and like cluing in and having enough self-awareness that you know yourself and how you operate and the different aspects of your life, have enough awareness to identify and take the time to identify what that one thing is at any given moment. And that's the most productive thing that you can do. It's not about getting things done quicker.
So I often speak with my clients about how they're screwing their productivity without actually really knowing it, kind of maybe subconsciously or their habits or behaviors that they're just doing. And so I want to ask you, how do you think you might have been screwing your productivity in the past and may have not known it until now?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's not even how do I think, how do I know I was screwing my productivity is idea validation. The most unproductive thing that I could have done as a side hustler for the first, 4 years that I was side hustling before I finally took the leap was not validating my idea. I completely underestimated that concept. It's like the natural progression, I think, to learn this idea as an entrepreneur. Like you have this idea, you think everybody's going to steal it, so you don't tell anybody about it, or you don't tell anybody about it because you're afraid of the answer. You're afraid that it's going to suck. And so you just do it and you get in your you put your blinders on, you just start cranking away. And that's what I did. I did it for a really, really, really long time. And I actually just talked about this with my wife. She came on and we recorded an episode last night because we're talking about this. You and I talked about it on my show.
Yes, that's where your idea came up about validation for your theme for the month of
idea validation
of January, right?
Yes, for January. I'm owning it now, Amber. So it's all about idea validation. And if you don't go through that process and you don't have the discipline. And I'm talking about like, it really is a discipline to let it go. Whatever it is, once you get that validation is not working, if you don't have the discipline to let it go, then you will not be a successful entrepreneur. You will be spinning your wheels. The successful ones are the ones that listen to the market and they take that feedback in and they do something with it.
That's a great
and they
point.
They don't try to play games with themselves. So like a really good example for me is I just launched the Snapp thing. Like I'm all about Snapp, putting that money. So I had this weekly thing that I was doing with Snapp. And I thought it was there's a couple of things that I thought. One, I thought it was going to be less work than it was because I already had the content and I was repurposing it. Two, I thought it was going to take off a lot quicker than it did. So
I think all entrepreneurs have that optimistic thought.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, this Snapp thing for me is not my one thing. It was a side hustle that I didn't think was going to take a lot of time. So I had one and I have another one scheduled tomorrow. And I'm going to break the news to the audience that, hey, we're not going to continue these for now indefinitely. It's going to be repurposed in maybe another format or whatever, but it's not working. I have to listen. I can't just like turn a blind eye. I have to do something about it. And that's tough because especially me kind of being a little bit out there in the public, right? Like,
absolutely.
I put something out there and people see me fail. Like I've got to tell the people that have bought this thing that I'm going to have to give you your money back. Like that really sucks, but it's so necessary.
But what would that have looked like if you continued down that path and invested good time after bad time, rather? I call it a stop loss. Like you need to know what is the return on not just your money, but your time, and your time can't be replaced. And so if you're not getting the results you're looking for, but I love that you did a version 1.0. I can get myself, I would say my biggest obstacle to productivity is trying to be a perfectionist. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I will beat the dead horse for the last 5% of getting this cool project done. Nobody would notice the difference. So I love that you're like, you know what? Get it out there, version 1.0, get feedback, and then make adjustments based on that.
Oh, that has been so learned, Amber. I mean, I think I might have told you this story or not. I'm not sure if I did, but I wrote, so when we had our second kid in 2012, it was like a convenient thing for me. I'm like, I want to start some sort of business. I'm going to get into baby stuff, DIY baby stuff. So
okay, I have not heard this story. Did not know this about you.
Yeah, so I'm a pretty handy guy, around the house, whatever. So I do really good like trim and molding, and I put some good stuff out there, into the house or whatever. So I'm like, I'm going to film this. I'm going to show people how to do what I'm doing, and it's going to be specific to baby. And there's going to be this element of like, how do you incorporate kid stuff into this DIY thing? It was just this whole concept in my head that I thought about. And so I started doing all these videos. I'm kind of goofy behind the camera and stuff. So it was fun. I had a good time. Then I realized, man, this is getting to be a lot of work. And I got to edit all these things. And then I was like, well, I can't put this video out without a companion manual. So I'm like, I'm going to do a companion manual. And meanwhile, I hadn't talked to anybody about this. Like anybody. It was so ridiculous. I'm like, I'm going to build this DIY, like it's going to call it a baby nursery survival guide, whatever. So the manual became a book, Amber. It became a book, and it was supposed to be a 90-day project that turned into, get this, you ready for this?
I don't think I am, but go for it.
13 months.
What?
I couldn't stop. I got so just wrapped around the axle. I put my blinders on. I could not. I got obsessed. And you talk about perfectionist, like I lived that life.
That is amazing. I'm going to tell you what I just heard. I heard that your first time you did 1.0, version 2.0, 3.0, you kept going through the versions. You spent 13 months. Mm-hmm. And then now you're doing this Snapp and you did version 1.0 and did one and got instant feedback and was like course correction. That's right. A huge improvement. I would have to say huge. Like if you hadn't learned your lesson, you might be 13 months later into these Snapp and they may or may not have served the purpose that they wanted. So I think oh, wow. See, that's great.
I had to go through that process. I really did. I learned so much about myself during that process.
That's awesome. So we've talked about several ways that you and I have screwed our productivity. But before we go any further, I want to make sure our listeners stop screwing their productivity.
Me too.
Want to reduce your stress? How about grow your business? Wish you had more time for family, friends, hobbies, and everything else you enjoy? Think you can't have all three? You're wrong. You just need to stop screwing your productivity. Text SCREW to 444999 to receive your free copy of 10 ways you're screwing your productivity. Or you can download your free copy at theproductivityspecialist.com/screw, SCREW. Now let's get back to Straight Talk with Nick. Nick, let's talk all about accountability. You, and through your journey of servicing your clients, have realized that accountability, whether it's there and it supports productivity, or if it's missing and negatively affects productivity, can you talk to us a little bit about accountability and how you believe it supports improved productivity?
It's all about validation. So I got into this productivity space thinking that people cared about systems and processes and being better time management, getting their time back, all the stuff that I've been talking about for the first year. And I have an accountability partner myself, and he goes, Nick, he's like, people don't care about that. They really don't. Like, they need it, but they don't want to hear that. Like, what they need from you and what you give them is accountability. I'm like, dude, I'm an engineer. I got 3 degrees. I'm like, and you're telling me I'm going to be the accountability guy? Are you serious? I'm like, no, I'm better than that. Like, no way. And he's like, dude, just hear me out. Try this. So I got out of frustration. And I went into my group, and it's pinned there, but it's pinned as a reminder, actually, in my group. And I call it like throwing down the gauntlet. And I went on this rant. I'm tired of your excuses. I'm tired of you not taking action. Like, this is just, it's ridiculous. You need to step up. Why are you here? You're soft. I'm getting soft. Like, it's kind of, I just went on this rant. It was a big accountability focus, and it struck a chord. And lo and behold, this really is the deal. Like, through my experience, and you think about project management, we're managing like $100 million projects. Like, I had all these people working, not for me, but with me. So I had to influence people. I didn't have, it wasn't by authority. I actually got people to take action by influence, which is like a key sort of thing as a project manager. So I've always kind of had that skill, and I didn't really do much with it. And I was always like, when it comes to coaching and stuff, I looked back at my coaching experiences, and I've been hearing people with their coaching experiences and everything like that. And they all wanted to get things done, but coaches and the people that they were working with, everybody's kind of losing track of what they wanted to achieve, what they want to get done. And I'm like, dude, I got that. I'm a project manager. Like, I know how to keep people on track and hold them accountable to getting things done. So I started implementing some of those methods as far as like knowing exactly what people are working on, making it visible, like it's a Lean Six Sigma thing. What you see, what you measure gets improved. So if you don't see it, if it's hidden, then people are going to forget about it. So I take a lot of those concepts in accountability. And when it comes to productivity, according to both of our definitions, if you're productive, you're getting the right things done, right? If you know what your right thing is, but nobody sees it and nobody cares about it, then you're not going to do it. And then you're not going to get productive, are you? So
exactly.
That's why it's so important to find a creative way to be accountable. And another quick story, when I became an entrepreneur, one of the biggest, like the first day, I was all excited. I was ready to go. I had my laptop running. I had a 40-page business plan. Like, I was ready. I'm like, bring it. And I sat there and I looked at my computer for like, I don't know, what seemed like a half an hour. I don't know. I just didn't even know where to start. But I didn't have the systems in place to be an effective entrepreneur. And one of the things that was so tricky for me that I learned is one of the reasons I didn't have all that is because I didn't have anybody holding me accountable. I lost that. I didn't really know what I was supposed to be working on, those milestones achieving along the way. Like, I had no idea because it was just me that cared. And I had to find really, really creative ways to get accountable. And that's the value I believe that I bring now to clients.
Amazing. So I also, in my company or business and coaching, a big part of what I do is accountability. And like you, I fought it. I didn't see the same value that my clients were actually desiring. And I had an aha moment because I thought, well, they just need to know the strategies. They need to know the techniques. And once they do, of course, they're going to execute. And that just left so much on the table about mindset and accountability. And I have a business coach, but I also have a physical workout coach. And his brand, his thing is ruthless fighting. Like, he is just a machine in the gym. Nice. And so I work out with him, and all I need to do is make the decision to show up. If I show up, then everything is left to him on keeping me motivated and doing that extra push-up or sit-up or, whatever it is we're working on, where if sometimes it's my job to go warm up without him. And I'll tell you, my warm-ups are just crap without him. And what's the difference? Like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I would do it in a second when he's there. And the difference is that I've partnered with somebody that believes in me when I may not believe in myself, that when I'm feeling tired and not in the mood, he does not care because he's there to help me reach my end goals. And then something happens. The motion and the action by being held accountable creates more motion and action. And by the time I'm halfway through a workout with him, I'm a machine, like I'm on it and I just want to keep going. And I thought, oh, that is amazing if that is the service that I can provide my clients, because I was showing up in a different way when someone's watching me. And I believe my clients are the same way. It's like, if nobody's watching you and you're not really clear and know what your focus is, then it's easy to dodge out on yourself. And not that we're never going to reach our goals, but we won't get there as quickly than if we show up and we're held accountable and we're moving through on the things that we know will grow our business or make the biggest impact.
Man, you hit the nail on the head. I love the analogy with working out. That's a really, really good one.
And I consider myself very motivated and all of those things. And yet when coming to working out, I was not. And so I knew I needed to partner with somebody that not only had skill set, but really held me accountable. I see the same thing for business owners needing that accountability, like from yourself or from me. And so I just love that when you said you're focusing all on accountability, it really is a missing link. And I think that's what you referenced it too, is that we often know what we need to do. It's not a secret. Like, we know we need to get out and sell to have a business. We know we need to lead our employees or any of these things that we may need to know or to do to grow our business. And yet there's a disconnect between doing it. And that disconnect is where the accountability comes in. So I just love that.
Yes. And I knew it worked because from an idea validation perspective, I put the word out there and it was like sold 14 seats in my beta test group, basically off of a Facebook post.
That's amazing. Which means you really figured out what it is that people needed and wanted. So I do group coaching, or I do also one-on-one coaching. And in either way that I support my clients, I always tell them that while I will help hold you accountable, it really has to start with you, because I'm not hand-holding and I'm not pulling you through this. So there's got to be a level of accountability that comes from ourselves where we really, really want it. And there's going to be times where you don't show up as consistent. And it's in those times I partner with you and we get through it together. But if I have a client that doesn't show any initiative on wanting personal accountability, I will not work with them. And I'm sure that you've probably experienced that same situation, is that it really needs to be a partnership and accountability.
It does. So yeah, and I coached for the first, and just so your listeners know, I'm not a coach anymore. I don't consider myself a coach anymore. So I coached for the first 12 months or 14 months, I guess, of my entrepreneurial career. And I look back and I said, this coaching thing is great and it's fun, but just looking at the process of what it takes to do this coaching thing, indefinitely for a career and a profession wasn't my thing. So I'm building this platform now because it's scalable. And when it comes to accountability, one of the things, and you're talking about, have I worked with people that don't take that action and stuff? Yeah, there's 14 people in this beta test group, and now we have 12. And one of the big things that I didn't do that I'm doing for the next beta is the screening. I mean, I screen to a certain extent, but now there's a certain personality that I know is going to produce the most fruit in this group. The ones that are going to be highly engaged, the ones that are going to do the work. I know what those people look like for the most part. So being more structured, not only with accountability, but how I go about allowing people to join the platform is going to be a new thing. And you've got as a coach or as a business owner, even no matter what it is you're selling, Tim Ferriss said it best, like, you don't want to work with those 20% of those people that are giving you the most headaches, or 80%, I should say. You want to work with the 20 that don't. And it's scary. It's easier just to try to sell, but it happens all the time. You sell to the wrong person and then you regret it. You regret it so much. So I think that it's like, the two things that the failures, the non-productive things that you could do, and it doesn't seem like a productivity thing. It was the idea of validation and working with the right clients.
Working with the right clients. I love that. For me, and I'm going to assume you're probably very similar, like I get my passion fueled by helping people. And so if I work with someone that is not in alignment or not going to take full advantage of the services I provide, then I'm setting us up both for failure, meaning they're not going to be a happy client. I'm going to be bending over backwards to try and make them happy. And yet it just wasn't a fit. And so that was totally a journey of learning over the last 5 years of people give you signs, but you don't really listen because at the beginning, you're going to take on any client you can take on. It's just until you get through that where you realize, okay, no, my perfect client looks like this or has these characteristic traits. And so it took me quite a while. So I'm glad that you were able to learn it off your first beta. And so you're in beta right now. Are you running another beta or are you launching live soon?
I am running another beta. Yes, I am. So this one's going to conclude at the end of the year. It was 7 weeks and it went phenomenally well. I can't even describe how much I learned from this. And the way I feel like I can't think of how I could have set up a more perfect beta as far as all the feedback and stuff that I was able to receive from this. So anyway, taking all that stuff that I learned and launching the next one in January.
That's amazing. So before we end, Nick, if my listeners would like to find out more about you, how can they do that?
My podcast is called the Make It Snappy Productivity Show because I'm Nick Snapp and everything's snappy with me. I just can't get away from it. It's my name. It is my birth name. People have asked me like, no way. That's not your birth name. I'm like, yes, it is. It's really my birth name.
That is awesome because if I found out you changed your name for your business name, I would say you're all in on this idea, but that's good. It's Nick
Definitely.
Snapp.
Yeah, so my podcast website my website's makeitsnappyshow.com. And for my accountability group, if you're interested in checking that out, it's called Real Accountable. And it's not real accountability. It's like, no, I want to show you how to, when it comes to like, I want to hold you real accountable. Not
awesome.
Just accountable, like real accountable. Anyway. But yeah, if you were interested in that, I'm not pre-selling yet. Maybe at the time this gets released, Amber, I will be, but you can text the word Snappy, SNAPPY to 44222, and I'll send you more information.
Okay, awesome. So they can definitely find you that way. So it's the makeitsnappyshow.com, or they can text, give that to us one more time.
Text Snappy to 44222. The website's makeitsnappyshow.com, not the makeitsnappyshow.com. And, with Real Accountable, it's super cool because one, you're going to get paired up with 2 accountability partners. So it's teams of 3 and you go through almost like in a competition because you get points as you achieve your milestones. So it's gamified and then you get on-demand access to mentors and coaches to help you through proven processes that work. So we're actually holding you accountable to processes that work. Now you can make up your own process. We have some that we're partnering with different teams and things like that have ones that work. And that's what we do. You want to get it done, you come to us. You want to make friends and develop relationships and stuff like that. Like you'll get that with us, but that's not the point. It's like, no, you're going to come in here and you're going to get it done.
Awesome. Okay, one last thing, Nick. How do you take consistent, massive, focused action in your business?
I have the best accountability partner in the world with my wife. And bottom line is when the money's not coming in, I know that I need to take action and I know I need to look her in the eye every time we have our weekly review and I got to tell her, yeah, didn't happen this week or whatever. And that for me is when I know that the stakes are high and I put it out on the line, then that's what makes me take massive action.
That's amazing. So you're really attaching your big why and your motivator, and that's going to fuel your massive action in your business.
Yes. And my why is my family. I'm a family man. I got 3 boys at home and I'm doing it for them. I really want to give them a high quality life and I want to be 100% present. That's why I do what I do.
Awesome, Nick. You've been amazing. Thank you for being here with us on the Productivity Straight Talk show.
Thank you, Amber. It's been awesome.
While I love having you listen to Productivity Straight Talk, I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing is going to change for you or your business. So based on what you learned today, what are you going to take action on today? To share your actionables and receive support, guidance, and motivation from entrepreneurs just like you, join us inside the Productivity Straight Talk private Facebook community. You can join by going to productivitycommunity.com. So that's my straight talk for you today. I look forward to next week when I'll be talking all about creating big goals worth pursuing. Until next time, have a productive week.